This is one of the recent suggestions that we got on my latest suggestion post, which I recommend go checking out if you want to drop some more suggestions for reactions. But today, we're taking a look at why reunification failed football. This is coming after, I guess, my reaction to Copa 90's Berlin derby video where they talked about unification, the Berlin Wall, all of that stuff that was going on in the 90s, the 1900s, not the 90s, sorry, all of that stuff. I'm interested to see what this video is about. Let's go.
November 9th, 1989. 30 years ago. The wall fell. People in the East looked forward to the future, to a new world, new possibilities, and Western products.
In football, it was similar. In November '89, East German clubs looked forward to Western TV money, new sponsors, and duels with Bayern and Dortmund.
Of course.
As did players like Manchester City legend Uwe Rösler, then a 20-year-old East German international.
We watched our idols on television for years, for decades, and then we played against them.
Or GDR talent Steffen Freund, who benefited from the change, not just because he later won the Euros.
I rented straight away a penthouse flat. Can you imagine a penthouse flat?
The people from East Germany saw great times coming. But things turned out differently. Most companies in the GDR were shut down. Millions of people lost their jobs.
Today, 30 years after the fall of the wall, not a single team from the East German top division in '89 is part of the Bundesliga.
Wow.
As GDR champions Hansa Rostock are stuck in the 3rd division. GDR record champions Dynamo Berlin play in the 4th tier alongside Lok Leipzig and Erfurt. They all formerly played in Europe.
Wait, is this the same Dynamo that Lev Yashin played for that we reacted to in the previous video about Lev Yashin? Is this the same Dynamo? I know that was a part of the Soviet Union. At the time, Eastern Germany was technically a part of the Soviet Union, if I'm not mistaken. I might be getting that all mixed up. I'm so sorry. Never mind. Let me know if this is the club that I'm thinking of or not.
And even worse, Steffen Freund's former club Stahl Brandenburg currently play in the 7th division.
30 years after the fall of the wall, it's pretty clear to see reunification in football failed. So how did East German football become what it is today?
Rainer Kallmund, he came over with a few guys and bought the best players. That is a good example why in the end was difficult to survive for the East German clubs.
Leverkusen manager Rainer Kallmund sealed the first East-West deal just 1 month after the fall of the wall. He signed Andreas Thom, the best GDR striker at that time. Dresden star Ulf Kirsten followed, and Matthias Sammer, later Ballon d'Or winner, went to Stuttgart the same year.
The Bundesliga clubs came over and headhunted all the talent out.
That makes sense.
And the East clubs didn't really got paid the money they should have deserved to rebuild their clubs and their structure.
The dream of the Golden West turned out to be a nightmare. The GDR couldn't compete in the free market.
East German clubs were all parts of GDR-owned companies, the players paid by the state. There was no know-how in terms of marketing, sponsorship or contracts.
Regional sponsors in the East didn't have much money, and most
Yeah,
of
that
the
makes
Western
sense.
companies didn't want to invest in East German clubs.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think the investors from the West were interested in other things, probably mainly in real estate or firms that bought up trusts. Back then, no one was really getting into investing in football.
I mean, it makes sense when you really think about it. Not makes sense in a good way, but it makes sense as a whole that once the because Eastern Berlin was, from my understanding, significantly poor, you know, as a whole in comparison to like the western part of Berlin. Oh man, I'm saying I'm probably gonna get so much wrong in these next like 20 seconds or so, but it makes sense. They you know, one half has all the money, the other just has the talent, the players, and maybe the people that'll come watch or whatever. There's really, I guess, nothing of value that the Eastern half could offer the Western half, or they don't really have the pulling power to request more. Probably they probably need the money, whatever they're offering. I mean, like they said earlier, they didn't get paid probably what they should have been paid for a lot of these players. It makes sense. It's kind of messed up, really. but it makes sense.
Michael Kölmel invested in many East German clubs in the 90s and 2000s. He saved Union Berlin from bankruptcy and helped Red Bull Leipzig to rise. But some of his and fellow investors' ventures failed. Dynamo Dresden, for example, were ruined by a West German businessman who later went to prison for embezzlement.
Always got to be somebody messing it up, man.
Vereine haben halt mit dem Geld
Many clubs simply made wrong decisions with the money.
die richtigen Entscheidungen getroffen.
They didn't know exactly what they were doing, and they signed players or coaches from the West for way too much money.
Oder Trainer aus dem Westen für relativ zu viel Geld.
That's so unfortunate.
Of course, there was bad management. Of course, a lack of investment. Of course, a lack of infrastructure. But how a club in the East should know how to run immediately a football club. When
Right,
we
right.
were never exposed to do that before.
Right.
So the lack of commercial skills in the East was a big factor in why reunification in football failed.
Another reason for the downfall of football in the East is that the fusion of the East and West German leagues simply was not fair.
In
Yeah, I
1991,
bet.
there was still the West German Bundesliga with 18 teams and the East German Oberliga with 14 sides. Instead of merging these leagues, all 18 Bundesliga teams were allowed to stay in the top division and only 2 East German teams could join. A further 6 GDR teams were relegated to the second division,
And the rest went directly from the first East German League to the third All-German League. For example, former European Cup winners Magdeburg or record champion Dynamo Berlin that played here in this stadium.
Das war an sich ungerecht.
It was pretty unfair. They should have expanded the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Then maybe the damage wouldn't have been so bad. It put the East back 10 years.
Das hat den Ostfußball sicher 10 Jahre zurückgeworfen.
That's insanely
The East
unfair.
football family joined the West German family. Basically, West Germany just won the World Cup. So you have to take what you get.
Uwe Rösler had a difficult start in the first reunified season. He struggled at Dynamo Dresden. In '92, he unsuccessfully went to the West German club Nuremberg.
It was another level of football, another level of scrutiny, media to cope with, contracts to cope with, also a little bit a society with elbows. You had to look out for yourself. In the East, we were more, everything came from a collective. We was more team. In the West, you needed to expand your elbows to survive.
Now you have to look after yourself, you have to learn, and then you realize a little bit more how far the East German side was away from the West German side.
I'm going to assume that having to really I'm going to assume the team environment probably just comes from the Eastern Berlin or Eastern Germany culture as a whole, considering the situation that they were in. They had to look out for each other. It was a significantly more dangerous situation. You know, that was really a united half because they had to deal with the situation that they were dealing with at the time, right? It makes sense that they come from more of a camaraderie, team-focused thing versus like having your individual superstars or whatever, do whatever they want. Because we do know from what I've seen over these last like couple of months of watching these videos, there were superstars that just kind of took over the game on a lot of different teams in a lot of different regions, countries, continents, whatever you want to call it. So coming from a team-focused environment to having these individual like star-studded lineup, or star-studded players on these rosters, that's probably so difficult to cope with. And then on top of that, this is like they're straight up just being thrown into a situation where they have no understanding of anything at this point because it's just such a different world. So much has changed in such a short amount of time. It's like throwing a newborn baby into a calculus class. He might figure it out. He might do all right, but the chances are he's not going to do all right whatsoever because it's a newborn baby in a calculus class. But yeah, this is a very, that's unfortunate, man. And then the whole just pushing the rest of the teams into the third division, all of their hard work just doesn't mean anything in this new world. That's crazy.
Despite these differences, Steffen Freund made it in the West. He won titles with Dortmund and Germany and ended up as a fan favorite at Tottenham. Same for Uwe Rösler at Manchester City. Between 94 and 98, he scored 50 goals for the Sky Blues, becoming part of their Hall of Fame.
Wow.
But meanwhile, their former clubs collapsed. Stahl Brandenburg went bankrupt in 1998. Dynamo Dresden left the Bundesliga in 1995 with millions in debt and never came back.
So, 30 years after, GDR football is dead. But wait, is it? East German clubs may seem doomed, but in some ways the East is very much alive.
Take the current German youth development system. It is undoubtedly one of the best in the world, with specialized football schools and an outstanding scouting system from the age of 10. All implemented in the 2000s by East German Matthias Sammer.
He basically copied a lot of things what already happened decades, 20, 30 years before in the East. And I think whole football Germany had benefited from that, and the golden years came after that with a lot of young talent.
Apropos Sammer, if you take a look at the 3 decades after reunification, who were the best German players?
90s, Matthias Sammer, born and raised in Dresden, GDR.
Matthias.
2000s, Michael Ballack, born and raised in Karl-Marx-Stadt, GDR. 2010s, Toni Kroos, also born and bred in East Germany.
A lot of East German players played later for the German national team. There is a character and a power that I think it comes from the overall situation in East Germany. East Germany was a poor country, not the nicest area to live. Now it's fantastic to live there. And then you realize, oh, why not to play for Aue now, or to play for Dresden again, Leipzig now.
With Red Bull Leipzig, there's finally a team from the East that can really compete with the big teams from the West.
I think for the Leipzig people, that somebody comes in and give Leipzig the chance to participate in the Bundesliga and participate in the Champions League, and they have an option to fight for titles.
Reunification failed, but the East is still alive.
So I want to get your opinions on this, I guess. There's been a lot of controversy from what I've seen over the years about the formation of Leipzig. A lot of people thought it was kind of more of a, not a real true club, but honestly, after hearing this, I don't know, man, from the outside looking in, I kind of like the idea that it kind of gives, you know, the eastern half of Germany something to look towards, I guess. You know, like it might not be your typical run-of-the-mill club in a way, but considering all they had to kind of go through, I don't know, man. I feel like that's sort of acceptable in a way, right? But again, that's why I want to hear some opinions on this, I guess. Not my country, not my region, and still new to the sport as a whole. I want to hear your thoughts on that. But it is crazy though, man. It just seems like time and time again, whenever a country or people are in a really bad situation, what do they rely on? They rely on football. If a lot of good players are coming over from East Germany that is poor, has nothing really going for it at the time, they still got that one thing to keep them together and unified, and that's football. That's crazy, man. Thanks for watching, guys. That was why reunification failed football. If you enjoyed this reaction, leave a like on the video. Let me know. Correct me on any historical facts that or questions, I guess, that I had. You know, feel free to tell me anything that I said that might have been off or wrong about a lot of this. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this reaction, let me know by leaving a like and commenting on the video in the comment section down below. Make sure to go check out the Kickoff's original video on this. First and foremost, I'll leave a link for it in the description down below. And hey, this will be your boy Jay with another reaction to more football stuff. Hope you have a great day. Peace.